On today's show, we sit down with Mark Thomas, the co-founder and CEO of ZenSports, to talk about his new peer-to-peer betting app.
This is crazy.
Everywhere you turn, it's the same old sports talk, the same headlines, the same news, and the same boring information. This podcast is here to change all of that. We bring you hot sports takes, winning sports betting strategy and picks, reliable gaming industry news, and breaking interviews with some of the biggest names in sports business. My name is Ryan Newpel, and welcome to the Noop Sports Show. All right, welcome to another episode of the Noob Sports Show. I'm your host, Ryan Newpel, here with you each and every time. Today, I'm joined by another very special guest. I have Mark Thomas, the co-founder, CEO at ZenSports, with me on the line. Mark, are you here?
I am here, Ryan. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. I appreciate you joining me. I mean, we're all just bunkered down, kind of staying low, staying inside here with this sports shutdown on the horizon. But hey, we're healthy. I'm smiling. I'm working hard. That's about all there is. So, how are you doing out there in sunny California?
Pretty good. It is sunny today. Sometimes San Francisco this time of year is not sunny, but it's been beautiful all week. Just as you said, hunkered down in our small, dense apartments here, and looking forward to hopefully having this pass soon and sports resuming.
Absolutely. Before we get into ZenSports and kind of some of your background, I wanted to talk a little bit more about, the shutdown and the virus and all of this stuff and how it's really affecting the sports community in particular. I was curious to get your input on how sports is going to come back, I guess. I mean, is it going to come back bigger and better than ever, or is it going to be kind of a tough transition back into sports, once things kind of get back to normal, or will they ever get back to normal? What are your thoughts on some of that before we really dive into the meaty stuff here?
Yeah, so I think it's going to be both. I think on one hand, you're going to have the sports leagues resume with no fans in the stands, and with people still potentially being, again, cooped up at home, they're going to want to start watching sports again, but they're not going to be able to do it from, in person. So I think because if you kind of combine both things of sports resuming, no fans at the games, and people being cooped up wanting to watch it on TV, I think you're going to see ratings just soar through the roof. I really do. Then on the flip side, with, what are we at now? 10 million people that have filed unemployment in the last couple of weeks. I think you're also not going to, on the flip side, see people rushing to spend, $300, $400, $500 on a ticket and $12 for a beer when, the economy's not doing as well. So I think you're going to see TV ratings go through the roof, but I think similarly, you're not going to see people rushing necessarily to the games, even when they do start allowing fans back into the stands.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting dynamic to see what happens, because I think we're going to start seeing people kind of start getting used to this. I don't know if I call it this lifestyle or this way of thinking where, man, I can just log in from home and watch this, or I can stream this and that and kind of watch from here. And it'll be curious to see when things get back to normal if a large majority of people kind of stick to that side of things and keep that convenience, I guess, style going, or if we start getting back out there and quickly abandon this whole online only mentality. It'll be an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, I do think most people will start getting back out there just because they'll have, cabin fever like most of us do to get out there. But I do also think you'll see some more flexibility for those that may want to work from home a little bit more frequently or whatnot. Sure. And if you see that people are able to handle it and still be, successful and do their jobs and whatnot, well, I don't think it's going to be 100% where you can continue to say, for example, work from home. Maybe you'll be able to do that one day a week or something like that. Sure. So yeah, I think it's going to be a little bit of a mixed bag there, but I do think people are itching to get out.
So CEO, co-founder at ZenSports, give us a little bit of a background for those listening. We have a pretty good kind of a business, sports betting business type listenership here on the show. But give us, if somebody hasn't heard, give us a 100-foot view of ZenSports and what it is.
Yeah, so ZenSports is a peer-to-peer sports betting marketplace where anybody can come in, excuse me, and create and accept sports bets with anyone else in the world without the need for a bookmaker. So the essential premise of this is that we are disintermediating or eliminating the bookmaker. If you kind of look at the landscape of sports betting ever since the beginning of time, there's always been a bookmaker involved in the process. And The bookmaker is really just essentially a middleman who's not always necessarily providing, great value and is charging huge fees and, always has this weird dynamic where they're only making money when their customers lose. So sometimes from a dispute perspective or rules perspective, they're not always fair. And we believe that technology, especially marketplace technology, can replace a lot of the functionality or all the functionality of a bookmaker. And so what we built is a two-sided marketplace that matches up makers and takers of bets, similar to what you might have on a trading exchange of stock, where you're matching makers and takers of trades. It's not quite an exchange where you're trading bets that have been created, but it's at least closer to that than it is with a bookmaker. And essentially, it's pretty simple. So you can come in, create any kind of sports bet that you want with your own odds, your own terms, your own set maximum amount, and then others in the marketplace can accept those bets. And then our product just matches the two sides up, and then we charge a fee, but it's a significantly lower fee, 50 to 90% cheaper than what a traditional bookmaker charges.
That's really cool. I mean, that's seems like a no-brainer, for players and consumers to want to go that route, especially if it's going to save them money. And they have a lot more flexibility with setting their lines, right? I mean, and if they see that their lines aren't good, then nobody's going to take them. That's interesting. So what gave you this idea? Where did it come about? How'd you get started with it?
We originally launched a few years ago under a different premise as a meetup recreational sports app, helping connect people to meet up to play sports for money and for fun. And what we found is that the peer-to-peer concept of people finding others to do sports things with was a real hit. But the recreational sports market is just really kind of tiny and a little bit random and not as big as sports betting. So a couple years ago, about 18 months or so ago, we decided, hey, let's take the same peer-to-peer concept and apply it to a much bigger market and apply it to a market that really has a big pain point, where in this case, we were mentioning bookmakers, and apply it to sports betting. And so that's what we did and set out to do. And we essentially built our V1 of our product about 18 months ago, launched it to a few beta customers. And then last year, March 2019, we launched the full-blown product of it to everybody outside the United States. So right now we are an international product only, and we are working on getting licenses here in the United States for the states that have legalized sports betting.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, it seems like you've come a long way in a short amount of time, which is awesome. That will be what kind of hurdles, I guess, are you seeing as you try to get into the United States here? I mean, are you finding it to be a difficult challenge or what?
Yeah, I mean, I think the one thing that's a little bit discouraging is if you look at the history so far in the last couple of years. So in May 2018, the Supreme Court struck down PASPA, which was a federal ban on sports betting that did not just legalize sports betting across the entire country. It basically told states, hey, you can legalize sports betting if you want to. And so about 17 states or so have legalized sports betting in the meantime. But I think the two kind of issues so far have been, every state has gone about it in a different way in terms of legalizing it, with all their different rules, restrictions, licensing requirements, et cetera. And so it's almost like dealing with 17 different countries in that regard. Yep. And then the other aspect of it is they've all the states so far up to this point have catered specifically to just the brick and mortar land-based casinos and sports books. So for example, like we are a tech product only, a mobile app only. We can't get a license in a state unless we either own or partner with a physical land-based brick and mortar sportsbook. So that makes it a little bit challenging. But we are hopeful that as time goes on, that states will begin opening it up to tech products only, or make it much, much easier to partner with or get licensed in those states, just because that's what consumers really want. They want a mobile betting experience.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's going to kind of become a catch-22 for you guys a little bit, because you're like, on one hand, you're saying, we think we're better than just having a sports book. We don't need the sports book. But then in the United States is saying, well, you have to be partnered with a sports book. And so it's kind of a catch-22 for you guys there when you're dealing with that.
Yeah, but I think the good thing is that a lot of land-based sports books and casinos, they don't necessarily have a technology arm to their business.
Sure.
And so they really can turn to us for that expertise. And utilize us for the technology piece, because I think there's appetite for both, right? People want to go on vacation, people want to travel, and people want to stay overnight in a casino and then bet physically in person at locations. But then for those that are not traveling or those that are not there, they want to be able to bet mobily. And so, I think there's appetite for both. And by partnering with a product like ZenSports, these, physical brick and mortar locations will actually get much more widespread distribution than they otherwise would get. So I do think that even though the rules are kind of set in place as they are, I actually see a lot of brick and mortars partnering with technology products like ours simply because they want to get more distribution than they currently have.
Sure. So from an app perspective, or from I guess an app perspective, during this shutdown, what is Zen Sports doing to stay alive? I mean, there's no sports to bet on. I'm sure not very few sports to bet on. I'm curious what you guys, a lot of people are pivoting to casino and esports and a lot of different things. I'm curious what Zen Sports is doing to kind of, I don't know, keep the lights on or keep
Right.
the traction going during this time.
Right. So the good thing is we just closed a little bit of additional funding in February. We closed another 770,000. So that sees us through for the next 12 to 15 months. So assuming we can get some sports going this summer, maybe at the very, very latest, the NFL getting back into the swing of things in September, we should be fine. That being said, we're not just sitting around waiting for that to happen. So this is actually, I think, a huge opportunity for esports, as you just mentioned.
Yep.
I think this is probably the birth of it and the dawning of it, where esports and betting on esports specifically is going to really see a huge uptick. It already has. And so we are launching esports in ZenSports, within ZenSports in a couple of weeks. So, it's a big initiative for us. Yeah. It's very important. Also, we're pretty confident that MMA will start to come back probably sooner, golf as well. Some of these, maybe NASCAR, some of these sports that have more social distancing already baked into them because it's one or two people and they're not really like right up against each other, like tackling each other or whatnot. So I don't think it's going to be that bad. And I actually also think that the major sports leagues are going to resume at some point this summer. I think even if it's just the playoffs, the NBA and NHL will come back towards the end of June, early July. I definitely think the NFL is going to kick off their season when they're supposed to. So I'm not really that concerned. I mean, I suppose if we're sitting here at the end of December with still no sports going on, that's a little different. Then we may have to revisit things. But I think taking the approaches that we're taking right now are sufficient, and then we'll revisit them this summer if there's still a problem.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's kind of what I was after. I was curious if you guys were jumping into the esports space, and it sounds like you are. I'm sure that's a big challenge for you guys. But, at the end of the day, if you look at the silver linings of all of this, it's forcing some companies like yourself to maybe jump into something that they didn't have plans to jump into, until maybe next year or something like that. Jump in a little sooner. Right. Then sports comes back, and all of a sudden you got another product line or another branch of the system going on. So
one of the things
always look at the positives, right?
Yeah, one of the things that we're doing too is, so up to this point we've entirely been B2C focused directly to consumer. We are actually going to be creating a white label product, an API for our product, and also white labeling our cryptocurrency token as well for loyalty and rewards programs for other businesses. So we're definitely branching out, and as you said, kind of expanding some product lines that we may have punted on until next year or the year after, just because of this.
You mentioned your cryptocurrency and the tokens and all that. I mean, that's something we haven't really touched on here, but you guys kind of have a little unique angle that plays on in that space. Can you explain a little further how you guys, use crypto within ZenSports?
Yeah, so we believe that one of the other big pain points within sports betting or any kind of betting or gaming or gambling products is payments and the movement of money. So for example, like if you're going on some other sports betting product and you try to use your debit card or whatnot to make a deposit, there's probably a 50% chance that your bank will decline that transaction just because they don't want to transact with betting products. And so that becomes a real sticking point. And so cryptocurrencies, which have no intermediary bank or financial institution in the process, it's just blockchain technology where the transfer goes from one party to the other, really streamlines that entire process and removes all of that friction for payments entirely. And so we launched our own branded cryptocurrency token called Sports last July. And even though we offer the ability to bet in dollars within our app, almost all the bets in our app take place using our token. And we've actually built this really cool loyalty and rewards program around our token where you can get discounted betting fees and cashback bonuses, other bonuses and perks just by using our token. And we found that people really gravitate towards it. It's it's just like money, except it's more fun. It's a more gamified experience, and it's cool. So we do believe that cryptocurrencies are going to be playing a huge, huge role in the future of all kinds of betting, actually.
Yeah, I agree with you. I definitely think you're onto something there, and I think that's a kind of a unique angle that you're taking with this. So give you guys props for that. It's pretty cool. Hey, on a different note, I see you have a little Milwaukee background in you. Got a little Bucks, a little Brewers fan, little Packers fan in you. I was looking at your LinkedIn. Looks like you
Yeah.
got a little Milwaukee background in you, huh?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Wisconsin, grew up in the suburbs of Milwaukee, moved out to San Francisco back in 2001. So I've been here for a while, but I've been a Bucks and Brewers fan since the late 80s, Packers fan since the early 90s, and diehard sports fan. Was never thinking of ever switching allegiances when I moved. And so, yeah, I'm as diehard as they get. I trash talk with the best of them on Twitter. And for example, I went back to Wisconsin to visit family for the holidays, and bought all my family tickets to the Bucks Lakers game.
Nice.
At the end of December when both teams were 24-4. Pfizer Forum was super juiced. Great atmosphere, lots of fun, and I mean that for me personally is, I mean certainly we're in a tragedy right now, but from a sports perspective, I mean the Bucks were rolling and looking like title contenders, and I'm like the only thing that can stop them at this point is apparently a virus, which unfortunately happened. So hopefully they can get at least the playoffs resumed and get that going, because I think they still got a great chance to win it all.
That's crazy. So we probably have one thing in common then, because I'm a diehard St. Louis Cardinals fan. You're a big Brewers fan. I'm guessing we both hate the Cubs, right? Oh, you still there, Mark?
And yeah, don't even get me.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry.
Oh,
Was that
sorry. I
cutting
think
out?
it
Sorry
cut
about
out.
that.
Yeah, it cut out a little bit. All right.
No worries. Yeah, I can't stand the Cubs. Now I have to say, I can stand the Cubs more than I can the Vikings. But it's amazing. Like I'm surprised at how much Chicago fans like to trash talk. They're bad, but I actually think Vikings fans are worse.
Wow. Yeah, it's fun. It's always fun, the trash talk. That's part of sports, and I think that's what we all kind of thrive on a little bit as well. So pretty cool. Pretty cool. Well, Mark, tell the listeners, I guess, where they can hear more from you, where they can get a hold of you, how they learn more about ZenSports.
Yeah, so you can check out ZenSports. Pretty straightforward, ZenSports.com. We have a mobile app both on the App Store for iOS, and you can download the Android app from our website. And then obviously everywhere on social media, we're on Twitter at ZenSports, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram, Facebook groups, pretty much everywhere you can find us. So that's more about us.
Amazing. I'll put all of that in the show notes of this show, so nobody has to remember the links as well. We'll put them all out there, have links to all this. But, Mark, I won't keep you any longer. I know you're a super busy man, and I think there must be like 5 million people on Zoom right now because it's like wanting to kick me off or my internet connection's bad or something.
It's been rough.
It's
been rough. Like, I mean, I know the problem is that, everybody is clogging up the same Wi-Fi's right now. And so it's just it's a tough thing. I mean, it's not because when you're in the office, you have like way more bandwidth on all these more high speed connections. And when everyone's on these, when everyone's at home and they're all clogging up the same ones, it's rough.
Yeah. But hey, we made it through this. I think it's going to come out all right. And
sorry about that.
No, I think it's on my end. So I definitely appreciate you joining me, Mark. And
no problem.
I wish ZenSports and everything you guys do all the luck in the world. And I urge everybody listening here to take a look. How do they sign up? I mean, just go out to the app, sign up. Pretty easy, huh?
Yeah. So you can. That's our whole thing is making the customer experience super easy. So you can download the app from the App Store or on Android from our website. You can sign up in about 30 seconds. Super easy. And then once sports are back up, I mean, you can create and accept sports bets within a matter of minutes.
Nice. Awesome, Mark. Well, appreciate it. If you ever need anything, don't hesitate to reach out. This is Mark Thomas, CEO, co-founder of ZenSports. I appreciate you being here, Mark, and have a great day. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Noob Sports Show. If you enjoyed this podcast, please consider subscribing to our iTunes channel today. Plus, visit us at noobsports.com for more picks, previews, strategy, and news. That's KNUPsports.com.